Could this be the first step toward a justice system that will revolutionize courthouses and leave a lasting impact on the world? The moment turns shocking when a black woman is stopped at the courthouse entrance and forced to wait outside in the blistering heat while others are allowed to pass freely. But what will happen when her true identity is finally revealed? How will the people inside react when they realize the grave injustice they have committed? Hey, I see you haven't subscribed yet, and that makes me a little sad. Hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell, because this is just the beginning of our epic series filled with real black heroism. Every second holds a new secret, and even greater acts of courage await you in the upcoming episodes. A routine visit to the courthouse takes a shocking turn when a black woman is stopped at the entrance and forced to wait outside. As others pass through without question, everything changes once the truth about her identity is revealed. The entire courthouse will soon realize the gravity of their mistake. With her deep complexion, natural curls, and elegant style, Nia Carter walked toward the downtown courthouse with determination and pride. The energy of the bustling city and the towering symbol of justice before her filled her with purpose. Clutching her bag firmly, she stepped toward the grand entrance, ready for the day ahead. But just then, uniformed Officer Marcus stepped in her path, his gaze cold and detached. "Stop right there, ma'am," he ordered, his voice carrying not just authority, but an undeniable trace of racial bias. Unshaken, Nia met his eyes and replied, "I'm Nia Carter. I have an official meeting with the Chief Justice today." Marcus's gaze lingered on her dark skin, her meticulously chosen navy blazer, and the natural curls neatly pulled back from her face. A flicker of disdain crossed his expression, exposing the prejudice he didn't even bother to hide. All around them, citizens, colleagues, and defendants waiting for their hearings bore silent witness to the injustice unfolding before them. Their stunned expressions and simmering frustration spoke volumes. Justice should not have barriers, and access to it should be equal for all. In that moment, Nia realized this wasn't just a personal injustice. It was the first spark of a much larger battle, a fight against the deeply rooted racial bias within the very walls meant to uphold fairness and equality. As Nia Carter stepped past the bitter stain of prejudice at the courthouse entrance, she walked toward the inner atrium with unwavering determination. Marcus's cold, condescending gaze still echoed in her mind, but within her heart, a powerful resistance, one fueled by an unrelenting desire for justice, had begun to take root. With her deep complexion, natural curls, and poised elegance, she was ready to demand the respect she deserved and stand against the harsh biases of the system. The moment she stepped inside, the whispers in the hallways and the stunned glances weren't just reactions to a personal injustice. They were a silent protest against the racial discrimination that had persisted for generations. Just then, a firm yet calm presence approached. Officer Daniels, a proud black officer and a staunch advocate for justice and equality. Without hesitation, he turned to Marcus and said, "Marcus, be careful with this." His words carried more than just professional responsibility. They were a clear statement of solidarity. They weren't just meant for Marcus, they were for Nia, for those watching, and for the system itself. Feeling Daniel's quiet but powerful support, Nia's hope was renewed. She wasn't alone. There were people within the very system who were also fighting for change. And at that moment, a silent yet undeniable challenge echoed through the courthouse. this was no longer just about a single act of discrimination. It was about an overdue reckoning with the deep-rooted biases embedded in these very walls. Colleagues, attorneys, and citizens seeking justice watched as Nia stood her ground. In their eyes, admiration flickered, and a new awareness began to take hold. The air itself seemed to shift, as though the first winds of change had begun to stir. In Nia's gaze, there was pain and anger. But beyond that, there was something far more powerful, an unshakable belief in a better future. Every step she took forward wasn't just a personal victory. It was a step toward a world where equality and respect weren't privileges, but rights that belonged to all. The sound of footsteps echoing through the courthouse corridors carried a rhythm of both pain and newfound hope within Nia Carter's heart. As she walked forward, she tried to leave behind the sting of prejudice she had faced at the entrance, but each step became more than just movement. It became a symbol of resistance, of an awakening deep within her. With her deep complexion, natural curls, and poised elegance, she embodied not just professional dignity, but a legacy of struggle that spanned generations. The cold stone walls of the corridors seemed to hold echoes of past injustices and the silent fury of the present. Every detail of the discrimination she had endured replayed in her mind, sharp and unshaken. A somber expression crossed her face, but beneath it lay unwavering resolve. This wasn't just about her. It was about something far greater. A stark reminder of the systemic racial biases that had been embedded in places meant to uphold justice. Inside, she whispered to herself, "I am not just a woman. I am a warrior, and with every step I stand for justice and equality." The hardships of the past had not weakened her. They had strengthened her. Each wound had become a cornerstone for the path she was forging. As she moved through the halls, a thought took root in her mind. Justice should not just be upheld in the courtroom, but at every door, in every moment, for every person. In that instant, her silent yet profound transformation sent ripples through the courthouse. Nia was no longer just carrying her own pain. She was turning it into a message of hope, a rallying cry for a more just world. Each step she took was a step toward healing the wounds of the past, toward ensuring a fairer future. Her walk was no longer just a journey. It was a declaration of defiance against injustice, a living symbol of resilience and inner strength. Leaving behind the pain of the prejudice she had faced at the entrance, Nia Carter stepped into the grand conference hall, where a gathering for the reconstruction of justice was taking place. Within the historic walls, judges, attorneys, and administrative officials sat in silence, a palpable sense of accountability and a hunger for change hanging in the air. With steady, unwavering steps, Nia approached the podium and spoke in a deep, resolute tone. What happened was not just a personal injustice. It was a painful reflection of the deep-rooted racial bias within our system. Her words echoed through the hall, resonating in the minds of those present. No one could deny it anymore. Change was necessary, and accountability was inevitable. Just then, Judge Monroe, known for his commanding presence and wisdom-filled gaze, took the floor. "We are here today to uphold the very foundations of justice and to dismantle bias at its core. We will take the necessary steps to ensure that mistakes like this never happen again," he declared, emphasizing the urgency of reform. His every word carried a conviction that justice must not only be restored, but rebuilt from within, addressing the very flaws that had allowed discrimination to persist. Nia's message had transcended her personal experience. It had become a call for collective accountability against the systemic discrimination embedded in society. The atmosphere in the hall shifted. Hope and determination replaced silence and hesitation. Everyone in that room understood. Mistakes had consequences, and a more just system would only emerge through action. As Nia's unwavering gaze swept across the room, she became a symbol of resilience, hope, and the belief that justice should be upheld at every door. This was more than just a meeting. It was the beginning of something new. As Nia Carter walked through the vast corridors of the courthouse, she felt the sting of pain and anger slowly giving way to something else, a determined transformation. The shock of the prejudice she had faced at the entrance was no longer just a wound. It had become a turning point, a foundation for her own strength and rebirth. Every step she took was fueled by the scars of the past, pushing her forward with a renewed sense of purpose. She reached for a small but deeply meaningful ring on her finger, a piece that had once belonged to her father, a symbol of resilience passed down through generations. This ring was more than just a family heirloom. It was a reminder of the battles fought, the struggles endured, and the unwavering resolve to seek justice despite every obstacle. At that moment, the subtle glint of the ring whispered a truth to her. She had to face her past, embrace her scars, and turn them into a source of power. Every wound she carried was no longer a burden, but a testament to her strength, a visible mark of her transformation. With each stride, Nia's walk was no longer just personal. It was a silent, yet profound call for healing the deep wounds within the system itself. Those who watched her could sense it. Something was shifting. A quiet but undeniable hope was taking root in their minds, inspired by her unwavering presence. Now, anger and pain were no longer just emotions. They were the driving force behind change. Nia was not just stepping forward. She was erasing the dark stains of injustice with the light of resilience and equality. She was determined to stand as a symbol of resistance, justice, and the unwavering pursuit of a fairer world. Under the soft glow of the setting sun, judges, attorneys, officials, and citizens gathered in the grand hall of the courthouse, standing on the brink of a profound reckoning. After everything that had transpired, they knew this was no ordinary moment. It was a call for change. Nia Carter stepped up to the podium, having left behind the scars of the past, her strides filled with unwavering determination. In her eyes, there was more than just personal resilience. She carried the collective hope of a society yearning for equality and justice. "Today," she began, her voice carrying through every corner of the room, "we are not just addressing a single act of injustice. We are demanding accountability for the deep-seated racial bias that has plagued our system for far too long." Her words laid the foundation for a justice system that would no longer silence the oppressed or ignore the wounds of the past. Marcus's actions had not been an isolated incident of prejudice. They had been a reflection of the cracks within the very foundation of justice. Judge Monroe, his tone resolute yet filled with conviction, declared, "From this day forward, justice will be upheld at every door, not in the shadows of bias, but with transparency and accountability." His statement reignited the belief that real change was possible, that justice could finally be restored. As Nia glanced at the ring passed down from her father, she realized it was no longer just a reminder of the past. It was a symbol of transformation, defiance, and a new beginning. The air in the room shifted, filled with the belief that old wounds could heal and that justice, at long last, would be served the way it was meant to be. In every eye that met Nia's determined gaze, there was a flicker of hope, a certainty that a brighter, fairer future was within reach. And in that moment, the weight of history gave way to the promise of change. The fight for justice and accountability was no longer just Nia's fight. It was the collective resistance of a society demanding its rightful place in a world free from prejudice. If this heroic journey inspired you, don't forget to subscribe, turn on notifications, and share your thoughts in the comments. Stay tuned for more real stories and legendary narratives, because this is just the beginning.